This is Golden Years, a roadmap to navigate retirement with Mark Cordner, the podcast.
Welcome to the show, folks. We appreciate you joining us here today. My name is Jessica. I'm alongside the one and only Mark Cordner, and this is Golden Years, a roadmap to navigate retirement. You know, living a full life also means that we're going to need more money to support it. Makes sense. There's a new study from the American Medical Association Neurological Journal. Woo, say that 5 times fast. They found that those over 65, a third have dementia or mild cognitive impairment. The numbers go up sharply with age there, and so does the expense. The average person in a memory care facility spends 80% of their monthly income on care. You may say you don't like to take the risk here, but if you don't prepare for this, you are risking your retirement savings. Literally rolling the dice here. Mark, talk to me.
Oh, my heavens. This is deeply personal to me because I've lived it with my grandparents, my father, with my son, my wife. She has MS. We're all going to experience some kind of decline physically over time, you know, unless we're lucky enough just to die in our sleep or get hit by a bus. Most of us are going to kind of slide into home plate rather than go suddenly. And this slide can be very painful. When we start talking about assisted care or long-term care or whatever we want to call it, this is the number one unfunded social crisis of our time. And the number one social crisis of our time, I say that right after going through COVID and living through all the personal devastation of that in my own family. This is the number one social crisis of our time because 3 out of 4 Americans are expected to incur some kind of assisted living expense. And when you look at a married couple, that means there's an incredible likelihood that at least one of the couple is going to need care. There's a 50% likelihood that one out of a married couple is going to make it to age 95, statistically speaking. And so there's a great likelihood that people are going to need hands-on assistance. And where's that money going to come from? I mean, the average cost right now for assisted living is $8,000 a month. That would destroy most Americans' retirement savings. Mm-hmm. And statistically speaking, only 3% of Americans have even dealt with this problem, which means by default, 97% of Americans have not addressed this problem, which means they are welcoming, as it were, whatever that future unknown cost is going to be. It's an uncertain cost that's going to hit at an uncertain time, which can be like a nuclear bomb just going into your financial plan. This is the biggest problem that destroys retirement plans, in my opinion, and that's 30 years of extensive reading on these topics and with longevity and all in mind. This is something that people need to deal with. Now, I grew up in Europe. I always had a fascination with the castles, and one of the predominant features with castles is there's typically some kind of barrier around the castle to prevent invaders from coming in. Now, it may be an ocean cliff, or more commonly, it's a moat. And so I talk to people about building a moat around their financial castle because the invaders may be very friendly healthcare providers, but they're coming after our money. And if you have any goal of leaving money to family members or simply being assured that you're going to have enough to live on for whatever your future lifespan is going to be, then we have to address this problem. It's total malpractice, in my opinion, for advisors not to address this. I read a study that said only 7% of financial advisors even talk about long-term care, which to me is absolutely mind-blowing. That means 93% of us are either incompetent or just in a state of malpractice, because how do you not talk about the number one risk that's going to blow things up for people? So if this is something that gives you any kind of anxiety as we age, you know, we're all seeing our parents and our friends' parents going through these kind of problems. If you haven't done something to prepare to either earmark money for this or to create some kind of leverage, we can show you all sorts of strategies that can create money, often tax-free, to help pay for these services. It's one of the number one things we do. And if you're concerned about future medical costs, especially long-term care, come visit with us. We'll do a long-term care analysis with you and show you different ways to protect yourself. Otherwise, you're going to be at the mercy of whatever those future expenses are. And the great tragedy is that very often with married couples, it's the guy that dies first, but you know, much of the household's assets are spent down caring for him. And then that woman who's been the great caregiver in her family often ends up with very little to take care of her. I think it's one of the greatest tragedies in American society is that we don't have these safety nets in place, either personally or institutionally.
Mark, are you a big fan of the one and only Mr. Eddie Murphy?
Oh my heavens, he's a genius, total genius. I love him.
He is a
I love
genius.
him, especially in Dreamgirls. Wasn't his comedy stick, but he just showed his just diversity. He is one of the
Hmm.
most talented humans alive. I love Eddie Murphy.
Yes, one of the most talented, obviously the most funniest guy, one of the guys out there that makes you laugh. And if you think back to like his old stand-up days, he had a famous laugh, and he's been talking about it recently on a promotional tour that he's doing. Listen to this.
That was my real laugh. And then I realized, oh, they're laughing at my laugh. And then it became like, all you have to do is do that laugh. And they would laugh. And it was like, oh no. And I really made myself stop laughing. Like, I don't laugh like that anymore. It's a strange thing as a human being to have to adjust something as natural as that, where you go through, I can't laugh like that. And once I was going into a hotel and a guy came to me and said, hey, this between you and me, is that done with computers? I don't even know how to answer that.
Oh my gosh. First of all, listen, am I the last to know? I mean, I literally thought that was a fake laugh, Mark. For decades, I thought this.
I don't think I ever thought about it. I was too busy laughing at the laugh, laughing at him, just enjoying him.
I thought it was part of the shtick that he was doing. The laugh was the last part of the joke or whatnot, and to come to find out that it's real. But oh wow, crazy little story there. But I thought it was interesting how he was like, "All right, I got to make some adjustments here," and it got me thinking about what you do on a daily basis. You help folks adjust their financial plans over time to meet their financial needs and goals. Talk to me a little bit about this.
Oh, wow. That's an ongoing thing. It's not a one-time check the box and it's done, because life brings so many uncertainties into it, so many unexpected things. I mean, how many of us have actually had our lives unfold the way we thought that they would? And so
tell God you hit your plans and he'll laugh at you is what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite Jewish proverbs there. There's so much wisdom in them. Yeah, that's a constant process for us, is helping people reframe their expectations. If you've had some unexpected financial setback, as I definitely have had, I mean, people who have stolen significant amounts of money from you, things like that you would never expect to have happen, you simply have to adjust. And that's the whole course of life. I think in sailing, they call it tacking. Basically you set your eye on a destination and you never go in a straight line. You're constantly veering a little bit to the right or a little bit to the left, but you have to tack, I think they call it, to constantly stay back on track. It's the same thing with airplanes. As a matter of fact, there's a Dutch term. I lived in Holland and speak Dutch. There's a Dutch term that I love called bekeren, which basically means to self-correct. And I love that term because to me, it gets this idea so visually for me that in life, we all make mistakes or we have setbacks. We have to constantly self-correct. And that's what this process is for me. I mean, certainly in my religious life, I'm on my knees every day begging for forgiveness. But in my economic life, I'm constantly having these reevaluations with myself and with my wife and saying, are we headed where we want to be? Or how do we respond to what hit us this year that we didn't see coming? And so tacking, repenting, whatever you want to call it, changing, this self-correction.
Pivoting, yes, yeah.
Pivoting, yeah. It's a true principle in all of our lives and absolutely unavoidable, critically important in financial planning. Mm-hmm. We just have to adjust as we go along. So don't think if you set up a retirement plan 10 years ago that you're good to go, because it's not valid anymore. Just like estate plans have to be updated, financial plans have to be updated. I want to visit with my clients at very least annually, but certainly more frequently than that, because we have to respond to what life brings to us.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, and things change over time, not only in your personal life, your family life. Maybe you have a new child or a grandchild, or maybe you took on a second job. I mean, these are all part of the conversations that you have when it comes to creating this income plan. And you're right. Just because you created a plan maybe 10 years ago, a financial plan is not a set it and forget it mentality, folks. I mean, things are changing daily with the opportunities within these tools and strategies, and things have changed in your life, whether you realize it or not. Maybe your wants, your needs, your desires have changed. And these are all things that, Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, these are all things that you also talk about in your first appointment. And I know for a lot of folks, it's daunting, yes. It's stressful. And just the thought of talking about money in general, much less with, a professional like yourself here, is overwhelming. So that first appointment is really laying out the pieces to building that foundation. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Where are you at and where do you want to be? Very few of us are at a particular place we thought we would be. I mean, maybe in general terms, but in terms of the specifics of our lives, none of us can forecast what's coming. So where are you at? Where do you want to be? That's a question we're constantly asking, if not overtly, then indirectly through every conversation we have with our clients. And it's all about reassuring that we're on course. We've got enough fuel in the tank to get us where we need to be. And in our case, the fuel is money. That's what's got to carry us to that end destination. And so we're constantly doing this analysis of, are we okay? What do we need to change? What do we need to improve? What's new out there that can benefit us? Constant conversation. And that's what I love most about my job, is having those kind of discussions with people about, really, it's not the money, it's about their life.
Investment advisory services offered through Golden Years Financial LLC, a registered investment advisory firm. Insurance is offered through Golden Years Insurance Services. These firms do not provide legal or tax advice. Consult your own legal and tax advisors before taking actions that may have tax implications. Investing in securities involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Insurance contracts principal protection is based on the claim-paying ability of the respective insurer. None of the information contained on this website shall constitute an offer to sell or solicit to buy a security or insurance product. The information and opinions contained on this site or requested from this site are provided by third parties believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed. They are provided for informational purposes only and are not a solicitation to buy or sell any of the products mentioned. Any media logos and or trademarks contained herein are the property of their respective owners, and no endorsement by those owners of Mark Cordner, Golden Years Financial, or Golden Years Insurance is stated or implied.